Okay, what is up? I have a very special guest for you today. His name is Bashir Abboud, and I said it correctly.
You did. You nailed it.
And on Instagram and the socials, and there's his dog. What's your dog's name?
This is Penny.
Hey, Penny. There's Penny. Decided to join the party today.
Yep.
You guys will find Bashir on social media as No Athletic Bones. So
Yep.
we'll link all of that. But I wanted him to come on our show today to talk to you guys about his exciting and very uplifting and inspiring story. So
Thank you.
really briefly, I started following him. I have no idea how I started following him on Instagram. It's how I meet a lot of people, a lot of really cool people in the social media world. He's a really funny guy, and he had some really funny stuff that was relatable in regards to like fitness and bodybuilding. And then I learned a little bit about his story, and that's what I really wanted him to share today. So, with no further ado,
Hey guys. Yeah, I'm Bashir. Yeah, like you said on Instagram, No Athletic Bones. I think the way most people found me was in May or June. I posted a reel about basically a girl trying to keep her man home from the gym and just offering him fellatio. So
yes,
I mean, it got
that's the real.
that's the one.
The
Yeah,
real.
it got over 9 million views. Almost 200,000 likes. It came completely unexpected. I actually was off of social media for, I mean, a few years at that point, and I always made it known, like if I was ever going to be on social media again, it would absolutely be with purpose. Like it would be a money making venture. It would be a way to sort of spread my story, spread awareness around the bodybuilding world, and really, I mean, I've always loved making people laugh, and I kind of like. I like crossing lines and getting reactions, whether it's good or bad. I mean, all publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I was watching your reel from this morning. I shared it on my story. If you guys are watching this later, you'll have to probably scroll through his Instagram for this one. But it was about the girl doing the lunges, and she turned around, and yeah, it was really funny.
Damn.
And I'm laughing, and it was like 4:30 in the morning or something, and I was like listening to it, and I was laughing. My husband's like, "Are you on the phone?" And I'm like, "No, this is just so funny." I was like, "I literally only follow funny people." I was like, "I only want to see funny or like really truly informative like feeds." And I said, and this guy makes me laugh all the time because it is relatable.
I gotta say, you have been one of probably my biggest supporter. Like legitimately, you like most of everything. I mean, you're really active on social media, and I really really appreciate that. So usually with you with your sweaty check-ins and all of that, I'm like. So thank you for real.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And the reason I do, follow, of course, you're very funny, and but the story that you have. So once I found out your story, I followed you because you were funny. I found that reel that other 9 million people also saw, and then I started following you, and then I learned your story really quickly. I don't even really know how. I don't know. Maybe I clicked on something. Maybe I asked you because I'm not shy at all to inbox somebody and ask them like, "Hey, what's your story?" Because you seem like you have there's something behind there, and your story was about you almost dying.
Yeah.
Basically. So I want to kind of get into that, if you don't mind. Just a little snippets of that too. So you could go ahead and start kind of how you got into athletics, what made you like bodybuilding, because a lot of my listeners do follow bodybuilding, some don't, some lifestyle, but what got you into bodybuilding, and then we'll go from there.
So high school, I was a diver and a swimmer. Diving in theater. So obviously, you kind of see both the athleticism and the goofiness coming from me because of those two reasons. But diving got me a scholarship in college, and it was great. Once my career ended and college was over, I kind of just fell in love with the training more than anything. I'd say probably my junior or senior year of college, I started diving was over for me. I know it was really just like a 1-year thing collegiately. And I just started getting really into bodybuilding. I made the mistake or the beautiful discovery of Arnold Schwarzenegger's pumping iron. I'm like, oh, I need to get big as hell. So I started lifting weights. And then, very quickly I realized genetically I kind of had a talent for putting on muscle. And so the addiction started. It was a daily thing. Became the biggest part of my life. I would, write, my schedules and my meal planning, and my workout. My whole life surrounded my workouts and my meal planning. And then I decided, golly, it must have been 2000.
The addiction to bodybuilding in
Body,
general.
yeah,
Yeah.
generally. This is before the drugs.
Yeah.
2009. I decided to enter the Texas Shredder in Austin, Texas. It was just regular bodybuilding. I had no posing coaching. I had no idea. I just knew I was big and I was ripped. Completely natty. Was successful. Placed second in my weight class, 4th overall. And from there, I'm like, let's make this my thing. And so immediately after that show, I got on testosterone cypionate. Was pinning probably 500 milligrams a week, really very entry level. And at that point, I started noticing people were noticing me more. Like in public, people were saying, like, dude, how much do you weigh? My dad was like, hey, this is the best I've ever seen you look. And just more and more confidence.
Because at that point, so what year was that? Because at that point, a lot of that stuff, I mean, now I think it's much more known, but I feel like you and I are around the same age, and I think we started really young in the bodybuilding world. And so a lot of that stuff was very like underground, and not a lot of people really knew about it. And if you did, you were almost like a special club. So not really anybody would ask you.
I mean, at the time, I think like Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman were still like, no one knew, like there was just like this fallacy in people's heads that these guys were naturally just gigantic. I'm like, dude, these guys are on everything. They have doctors, giving them this stuff. So yeah, it was a very undercover thing. And someone asked me at the time, I'm like, oh, I'm completely natural. It's just creatine and peanut butter. Like, get the fuck out of here. I mean, let's be
right.
Let's be honest. But what happened was, that was the only show I did, which was, 15 years ago. And what happened after that was just, I think with anyone in bodybuilding, I think it kind of usually starts out with insecurity. And it's something I still struggle with. People want to look better and feel better, and they like the compliments and they like the external validation. So I just made the decision, like, I'm going to get as big as I possibly can. And so started adding, a couple of things, did the whole bread and butter stack, the DECA, the D-ball, the testosterone. Eventually that turned into Tren and Equipost. And eventually I found the amazing drug of Anadrol. And this was probably circa 2013, 2014. By the end, I would say while I was in Chicago at my heaviest and quote unquote lean, was probably around 280, 285 pounds.
Wow.
I mean, huge, but I started noticing things, random nosebleeds, blood vessels bursting in my eyes. My back hurt all the time, like inexplicably. And, I started thinking like there's something going on here. So I finally went to a physician and learned that my liver and my kidneys were failing. So that explained the back pain. Nonetheless, kept rocking with it. I mean, it got so ugly. It got to a point where I was like, the company I was working for, they kind of had me doing PR again because I had the theater background and I like being on camera. I remember getting ready for I don't know, some news channel in Raleigh, Durham, actually it was Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to be on TV. And I had to have one of my regional managers in the area have to pick me up from the hotel because I couldn't get out of bed. And I limped into that thing, faked it till I make it, but you could kind of see on the video, like I'm sweating profusely, just absolutely miserable. Nonetheless, didn't stop. As a matter of fact, for 12 years, I didn't cruise. I didn't come off cycle. I didn't do anything at all. For 12 years, I was blasting sauce. I would say it got up to about 1,200 milligrams a week of test at the minimum, not including Tren. And you kind of realize things along the way, but you still don't do anything about it because you like the way you feel and you like the way you look and you like how strong you are. The Tren, like,
and you almost feel pressure from people because you've developed this like this pedestal that they put you on, and at this point not many people even know what you're doing.
No,
so
I was just a big guy in every room I was in,
so there's a lot of pressure on, I mean pressure from yourself, but it's still pressure nonetheless.
You have an image to keep too, right? Like I was the bodybuilder in all of, I was the big dude in every group of friends I had. Every room I stepped into, I was by leaps and bounds. I'm 6'3" and I was 280 pounds. I was a gigantic human being. So I think just keeping that appearance and keeping up that sort of like that image was super important to me. But if you realize the silliest things, like you're pinning Tren in your thigh or your butt or right up your shoulder, wherever you decide to do it, and immediately you start coughing to the point that you can't breathe. Like that has to say something, but it didn't matter to me. I was like, this is the price of greatness, you know? In 2018, no, 2016, I was going through a divorce. It was 2018, 27, somewhere in that range. I don't remember what the year was. I was in Miami.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
There you
reject.
are. Gotcha. It's good.
And I just came off of the sauce immediately. I mean, I lost every penny I had in the divorce. I lost a lot of friends as a result of, you know, my stupidity, and, you know, the lying surrounding the divorce and stuff like that. And I came off the sauce, and I would say within 2 months, I was completely ill. Like I'm talking like throat closed up, headaches, massive. I mean, I kept eating like I was bodybuilding, but I wasn't on juice anymore. So I blew up to about almost 310 pounds and was way overweight. I was sick all the time. And you got to keep in mind too, like I lost everything. I had nothing left. I didn't know how to survive. My family, you know, my family and I were on weird terms, and my friends kind of stopped talking to me, and I just made the decision. And I started making terrible mistakes because you don't consider, when you're on juice for 12 years consistently, you just stop cold turkey without going through the proper channels and doing things the right way. It's not just a physical thing that kind of happens to you. Mentally, you're destroyed. You can't, like, the way you process information isn't the same. Your hormones are completely, imagine being on, I mean, it's, I mean, I almost can compare it to maybe even more extreme to being on birth control your entire adult life, and all of a sudden coming off of it, like your hormones are out of control. So I was dying legitimately.
Yeah.
And decided that enough was enough, and I just wanted to die. So in 2019, in November, it's almost been a year. It's almost been 3 years. It's been 3 years. On Thanksgiving, it'll be exactly 3 years. I came back to Houston. I decided my life wasn't worth living anymore. I got on a bicycle, rode 300 miles into the Florida Everglades, and just wandered. I figured, like, this is it, you know? I mean, it was really bizarre too. I spent 2 nights in the Florida Everglades. I mean, in the swamp. What started off as like a, you know, dirt trail turned into, you know, paved to dirt, from dirt to like ankle deep water. By the end of it, all I had left was just a backpack that I had to hold over my head with like just my basic information in there, a water bottle, and water was up to here on me. So, you know, I got to a point where I found dry land again. I saw some power lines. I went over there, and I had 1 bar of service, maybe 2% battery, and I made 1 call, and that was to the one friend I had at the time. And he said, I said, I have no service. You're the only person I can call. And he called 911 for me, called a local church, said, we're gonna find you a way out of this. And I was in fetal position. I mean, sobbing my eyes out, like just completely lost, scared, terrified. I just decided, I think one of the main thoughts that kind of kept me like, I want to live, was I thought about.
You have no sound. You muted yourself. There, you got to repeat that for us.
Well, I'm sitting there in fetal position, you know, and sobbing. And I think the reason I wanted to live at the end of the day was just like, I have a nephew and niece back in Houston that I haven't really got to know them at all. You know, they're at the time, they're probably like 4 and 6 years old. And I'd been, you know, all over the country at that point. I'd been in Chicago, New York, Miami, hadn't been home. And I wanted to see them again, and I wanted to see my family again. So maybe like an hour later, I stood up. I had nothing on, by the way. I was in underwear at that point. Had no more water.
Your clothes
no
were
food.
so wet, and because your clothes were so wet. So
It's in November too. Say what you will about Florida, but November is November, right? Like it's still extremely cold, especially like in the early hours of the morning. But finally, I heard some like cars coming down like a trail, and I walked towards that area, and I mean it was like 6 squad cars, an ambulance, a fire truck, you know, the whole nine. They kind of all overdo it, and I got rescued legitimately. They wrapped a blanket around me, gave me some water, asked me if I'm okay, how my mental state is. I'm like, I'm fine, I'm alive, like I made it.
Yeah.
And one of the official from Florida Fish and Wildlife said, "Come here real quick, young man." And I just followed him. He took me over to like a ledge where there's a bayou. There must have been 200 alligators. He said, You don't know how lucky you are. You need to play the
Wow.
lottery. Thank your lucky stars. It's breeding season. We had a guy get lost for an hour and a half yesterday and got killed.
Oh
And
my
so I
gosh.
thank God at that point. They took me to McDonald's, fed me, and then I fell asleep in a church pew in Indiantown, Florida. My friend, mind you, I'm pretty close to Central Florida at this point. I rode my bike that far. I think
Mm.
in total I traveled 520 miles in 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah.
Just was done. I was done with life. He drove a couple hours, came and picked me up, took me to his family's home, and then he refused to let me take a flight home. He just didn't trust me not to hurt myself, so he drove me back to Houston, Texas, to celebrate Thanksgiving with my family.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, and since just after that, I thank God got employed again. Had insurance, went to a physician, and she kind of told me, all of my worst fears that, I knew what was going on, and she suggested a plant-based diet. And little by little, I just cut out one animal product after the other,
Now,
lost.
why did she suggest a plant-based diet? And because that's going to lead us into the next part of your journey right now.
Yeah,
Because before you were on, some of my listeners may not know that the PEDs, those are steroids, is what he's talking
yeah,
about. And so he did a lot of them, a lot more than even what some of the professional bodybuilders
right.
do. And he got off them cold turkey, and now here he is, mentally just very depressed. And a lot of life situations happen, but and so that's playing a role in your hormones. And I run a heart disease reversal clinic. I think I mentioned that before. And we
Yeah,
we we run the Ornish program, which is Dr. Dean Ornish, and he is a plant-based physician that started this
amazing.
program. And all of our patients are prescribed a plant-based nutrition to heal their heart. And and it's an insurance-based program, so it's scientifically proven to work for certain patients. So I'm wondering, so she suggested this plant-based nutrition plan for you because of the things that were going on in your body. Is that what she kind of said?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Between my kidneys sort of shutting down, my liver just in an absolute chaos.
Yeah.
And there's a list of other things that could happen down the road had I continued the path. But I think just again to prevent heart issues and cholesterol issues, she just suggested a plant-based diet. So little by little, I started cutting out animal products. Dairy was the easiest for me for sure.
Mhm.
I don't think my body ever really agreed with dairy.
Yeah.
But I was pounding whey for 15 years. Like just that was the first to go, and then when you start getting into like the plant-based lifestyle, you start following. I wasn't even on Instagram at that point. But once I started getting more involved in Instagram, outside of just the plant-based diet, you start looking at the vegan community as a whole and what they're trying to accomplish. And a couple of things I always knew about myself were: one, I'm goofy. Two,
Mhm.
I'm a huge fitness fanatic. And three, like the ocean has always been, very extraordinarily special to me.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me as a 5-year-old what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have told you marine biologist, not knowing what marine or biology meant. I just knew like Jacques Cousteau did that, like
Yeah.
Steve Irwin does that. Let me go swim with fish all day.
Mhm.
But in the process, over the last 3 years, I lost 100 pounds. Even more so at the peak of veganism, which is probably July or August. I weighed less than I did in high school. And since then, obviously, things have changed, but was down to 194 pounds, and I just felt good. I felt bouncy. I was pursuing things that I loved between social media and fitness. And really the rest is history.
Now, was that hard
Now
for
I am,
you being like, coming from the bodybuilding world? Even sometimes you have to be like, if guys get lean, you have to be really careful sometimes, not be like, oh, look, you look small. They're like, oh, don't tell me I'm small.
yeah, that
So
happened.
did that,
That's exactly what happened.
mhm.
Yeah, mentally, I was like, I feel great, but people are telling me I'm getting skinny now. I'm like, I don't know if skinny is the look I'm going for.
I'm
Like,
like, don't say that to a guy in the gym. Tell them they're
don't tell someone
lean,
they're skinny.
okay? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if skinny's the move for me. And then, conceptually, I started thinking about, my platform and how people have enjoyed my content. And like I said from the beginning, I've always been an entertainer. And I always decided if I'm going to get back on social media, then it's going to be with purpose. And so now, I've had some success on Instagram, and I decided like I'm gonna start vlogging. I'm gonna get on YouTube. And I think the biggest decision I made was the concept of my YouTube channel, and that's you can be the athlete you want to be. You can be the person you want to be. You can pursue your goals no matter your circumstances, no matter your dietary preferences, no matter your age. And like, to justify it, I think about, children, 10-year-olds that are involved in multiple sports throughout the year, and they get private coaching and this and that. I'm like, I don't have kids. What is stopping me from doing the same thing? So conceptually, what I'm going to do, every year, I'll have a couple seasons. Every season of the No Athletic Bones show is going to be me getting involved with different sports and setting goals in different sports and becoming really highly performing in different sports, because there's been this, like, I don't know how I earned this reputation. I really don't, Pam. Like, because I was a diver and I wasn't a football player or a basketball, there's this misconception that I'm not athletic. And I've heard more times than I can count that, like, I don't have an athletic bone in my body. I'm like, wait a second. Because I was a bodybuilder and a diver, I'm not athletic. And so I really, like, it hurt me. So season 1 is going to be bodybuilding. After 15 years of a sport that ruined my life, essentially, I decided, I'm going to show people you can do this the right way. I hired a nutritionist, I hired a coach, I have a therapist and a psychiatrist, all on the team now, all helping me get through this, because I think if I can get through bodybuilding by doing it the right way and still podium and still be successful in it and show people you can do things the right way and be the person you want to be, why not? It's definitely going to be the biggest challenge of my life. Kind of pushing away the body dysmorphia and pushing away the temptation to go down the wrong path again.
So that's your first show on your YouTube. So that's the next portion, the next layer of you are going to start sharing your story and your bits and pieces with us on a YouTube channel. And we get to watch your vegan bodybuilding journey, doing it the right way. I'm a real big component, as you know, of making sure that we have everything in place after we're done competing. I don't think there's anything wrong with competing, but the mental aspect is so overlooked. And I think that's going to be really cool to watch that portion of your journey going into it. How old are you?
38.
Okay. So going into your late 30s, and to be able to share some very different perspective, hopefully for upcoming people, whether they're vegan or not,
natural is the goal here, right? Like, it's not doing the drugs. I would even say that's even more pertinent to me than the vegan lifestyle, just because being back on drugs again, this is a drug tested show, by the way, which is, that was the top priority. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I can compete in NPC competitively, not being on gear and being vegan. Like, it would be a borderline impossibility for me to be successful. But it was something that it's the NFF Hub City Classic in Lubbock, Texas on March 4th. And it was something that was super important to me, just to make sure I was staying natural. And I think as far as the body dysmorphia goes and making sure I stay on path and doing things correctly, I think the therapy is going to be such a priority. And that's something I didn't have access to when I was in my early 20s. You know what I mean? I was probably making like $40,000 a year at the time. And there was just no way I could afford therapy. But now at this point, now that I have the resources to do so, it's just something I'm going to continue doing regardless of the sport I'm competing in.
Well, I think I think being able to offer your YouTube for free that people can watch and they can see that, even if they can't afford it themselves, they can kind of get that perspective, because that's not something that you and I were even taught or thought to look at. We were just seeing the people in the magazines. There was no internet. We were just getting the encyclopedia of bodybuilding and following structure.
I still have it.
I do too. My binding's broken. Yeah. That was my book.
Yeah. Exactly. So I love the sport. I love the sport in that, like, it seems to me, I don't know what it's like in the pro ranks, Pam. You have more exposure to that than me. I think I'm going to learn a lot at Olympia in December, in a couple weeks. But it seems like the gym I go to, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Alpha Land.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, and for those of y'all that don't know,
I want to go someday.
Come down to Houston. I'll take you. Seriously, that's where I go.
Yeah.
It seems to me like the community's changed a lot.
Mhm.
It seems to me like a lot of people, and I mean, this is a gym where I'm by leaps and bounds the oldest person there, but everyone's super supportive. Everyone is kind of like, I mean, I get more compliments from dudes than I do from women all day, every day. Like, dude, you're looking jacked today. Like things like, things like that. So to actually have sort of a support system around me between my family and the therapist and sort of the friends I've made at the gym, I really do think this is going to be a successful venture, and I'm excited to do things the right way and just show I can still be competitive. And it doesn't matter your age.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you've been through. Just make it happen, bro.
Yeah, and like you said, to kind of enter the competition that you will be competitive at, because like you said,
Exactly.
and like I kind of said in the beginning, is that PED usage is there. It's all very accessible to just about
Rampant.
anybody now. It's not really a hidden secret anymore. So that's fortunate, but unfortunately, we'll talk about that another day. But for you to enter the competition that you're going to feel good at, and
Yeah.
and to get up there and be realistic with your goals, and to show people, even people that maybe are struggling that you don't know, that are maybe wanting to get off of their PED usage or what have you, but they're just nervous to do so. Like, I think this is a big deal, and I'm most excited for that people can see that it can be done, and that you can feel good doing it, and that our health needs to be the utmost important.
100%. I don't want to die. I don't want to die at 60.
Yeah, and
And I
feeling,
think how many bodybuilders have to drop,
yeah, yeah.
before something is said about the drugs they're putting into their body. I mean, I revere these guys. Like, I look at Big Ramy and I'm like, my God, like, what kind of human being is this? But then you think about, like, he's a pincushion.
Hmm.
And I worry about his health.
And
And
there's
when I
some,
see kids that are like, clearly, you did not gain 20 pounds of muscle in the span of 4 to 5 weeks. It didn't happen. For the love of God, take care of yourself. It's not worth it.
yeah. And then you get some people, I mean, and you can only say what you will, and you can share your story. And there's some people that it's just you can't tell them anything, because when in my 20s, you couldn't have told me anything. Like, I mean,
Nothing.
I was dieting. I had no menstrual cycle for 8 years, and I
Oh
did not
gosh.
care. Doctors told me at 27, you're in perimenopause. I was like, I don't care. I look good. I hurt
Yeah,
all the time.
seriously. That's
Yeah.
what it
And
gets to.
and
When
so
aesthetic is everything, like you kind of neglect every other aspect of your life, and that's what I was doing.
yes. And so there's going to be the group of people that just really don't care, and they're like, oh well, he's old and washed up anyway, like whatever. And some of them will say, like, well, I would rather just die young and look the way I want to look. But you're still going to get the other handful of people that they're going to think, and they're going to change, and that's all that matters, is those
If I
people.
can help one person make a life-changing decision, one,
Yep.
all of this nonsense would have been worth it, honestly.
Yep.
Like
And I have
it,
people, guys, even ask me, that aren't in the sport, or kind of looking, because I'm an NPC judge still to this. And I actually just started about a couple years ago, because I had to remove myself for a
what
long
do you
time.
judge? Do you judge bikini or figure or all of it?
All of it, bodybuilding, everything.
Really?
And so I'll have guys ask me, like, some people that are just maybe new to the gym, and what have you, and they'll say, like, can that be achieved naturally? I hear everybody has to do drugs. And I'm like, yes, you can do things naturally. So I will lead them to your page, and I'll say, well, watch this guy. And that's going to be
Yeah.
even more exciting, because that's going to be one little resource. And yeah, it might take longer. And no, you're not going to be the biggest guy out there, because genetically you can't do that without drugs. But here's your option. And, at least we're going to be able to spread that and have that.
Of course, of course. I
Mhm.
will say the only thing with the sport, regardless of natural, on gear, no matter who you are, I think there's a certain level of the body dysmorphia doesn't go away,
No.
right?
Mhm.
The insecurity is going to be there no matter what. And right now I'm in a bulking phase for the next 3 weeks, and I hate the way I look. I have to go into a room with a million mirrors and cameras on me, and my coach teaching me how to pose, and I just feel gross. I feel disgusting, and I have to be reminded over and over again. It's part of the process. It really doesn't matter how I look. Now what matters is how I look the day I'm on stage, and that's it. I don't know that it's the healthiest thing to do for a lifetime. I mean, unless this is your career choice, in which case, yeah, go for it, right? It's just
But still not for a
It's something you
lifetime.
have to get past. What's
Yeah,
up?
I don't think it's would be ever for a lifetime. I think that, and there's a few girls, actually a lot of bodybuilding women from Michigan that do pretty
Yeah,
well in the sport, all across the sport, fitness, bodybuilding, whatever. Um, and bodybuilding you can do so much with it, like it
yeah,
has shaped my life. There was a point where I thought it was ruining my life, but now I look at my life now and I think, well, I'm glad I went through all of that. And,
100%.
so there's different ways that it can, so it's still that portion doesn't have to be your life, but that body dysmorphia part of it definitely needs to be talked about. And I wanted to lead people to your stories too, because you are bulking right now. So this is time sensitive information here. So if you watch this later or listen later,
By all means.
it won't be, but you can kind of get to watch him suffer a little bit because you do share some of your like bulking stories. Yeah.
I have never eaten so much in my life. Like to truly be bulking
Yeah.
and vegan, like I'm Pam, I'm eating a block of tofu per meal. And I don't know if you know this. I mean, tofu is like the consistency of, I don't even know.
I know
mean,
I definitely know what tofu is. We give it to our patients. Yeah.
It tastes like a shoe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm pounding 4,500 calories a day. I mean, every single meal is like I'm forcing it down. I'm on the verge of gagging every meal, but it's again, I don't know if it's healthy. It most likely isn't something you're supposed to do, but I imagine at some point,
yeah.
I'm already starting to get used to it a little bit. I will share in the journey and how I feel about things, but it is a challenge. I got so used to being, thin/skinny and lean, and to be where I'm at now is definitely like, it's troubling at times.
So really quickly, you said you're calorie wise, but I know that somebody's going to have this question and they're going to say, well, if you're vegan, like how do you get so much protein? And then the other question leading into that is you're going to probably know the next one is, do you think that soy has estrogen properties? Because those are big questions in the plant-based community.
Of course.
And, and I even hear it again. I hear that that's something we teach at the clinic for my patients, is somewhat that, but not in the terms of bodybuilding. This is heart health and that's much different.
Right.
So how do you get so much protein and how do you feel about soy for your body in general?
I am a big fan of the faux meats, a huge fan of like the Beyonds and the Impossibles of the world. They are loaded with sodium and a lot of other, sort of not so healthy, maybe additives, but it's predominantly pea protein. And you'd be surprised. Like, I don't know if the movie Game Changers, I heard a quote that kind of just stuck with me. When someone says, there was some like champion powerlifter, and someone told him, "You're strong as an ox." And he's like, "Yeah, but have you ever seen an ox eat meat?" You know what I mean? So it can be done. It just requires a little bit of extra effort. The faux meats, the Beyonds, the Impossibles of the world, pea protein is huge. You definitely have to supplement. Protein powders, creatine, glutamine, all the amino acids, and the tofu. I mean, it's not fun to eat. It's really not.
It's okay. I've had it where it's all right. I'm not a huge tofu fan, to be honest, but I have eaten it where it tastes decent.
So here's the thing, right? I'm not a chef. Everything I cook is either in the air fryer or the oven, legitimately. Yeah. So, I mean, at best, I can make it crispy with cornstarch. But if I go someplace, if I'm eating out, they do a lot better job of it, and so it's fine. As far as the estrogenic side effects from tofu, far less than anything I was doing on steroids.
Sure.
Far less hormones than anything I was, when I'm consuming dairy.
True story.
I haven't noticed. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 3 years at this point, and I haven't noticed a single thing. Like there's nothing. And I think it's a little bit like, remember when there was that big scare about like aspartame in diet sodas? Yeah. Like you would have to literally be like injecting aspartame into your blood, into your blood, like on a daily basis at alarming amounts. And I mean, I'm eating a shit ton of tofu for sure, but I'm not like, there's not like an IV of just estrogen coming into me. Not right. That'd be crazy. So I think that's definitely overblown. 100%.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, the bioavailability of the protein is as high as chicken. Someone is at my door. I don't know what or how or who could possibly be here.
Probably a package.
I would imagine it's Amazon. I'm not home. And Penny, chill, baby. Someone is walking in. Hold on one second.
Okay.
I don't know.
I got you. So we're going to talk about that real quick too. So I'm going to, I was going to
I'll be
say,
right back.
okay.
Sorry, man.
So in my heart program, we do lots of plant-based proteins for our patients. And sometimes some of the questions are whether or not that they would have too much protein or not enough protein through soy. Are you good now?
I'm great now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was just kind of filling them in on soy and how, we do promote, the plant-based protein and it's a lot of it's soy-based protein. We actually don't promote some of the Beyond meats because of
Sure.
the saturated fat for our heart patients because it has to be like zero. But some of them you can find that are more pea-based protein. So what's your favorite when it comes to like the meat, the pretend meats? Because I'm not in a real good agreement with a lot of the packaged type meats just because if somebody's doing plant-based, and you have a different goal and you have a different body and a different health.
Sure.
But if they do, I think they are decent transition foods for people that want to eat less
Exactly.
meat. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I've actually brought down my consumption of them significantly. I mean, I'm talking, to a point where I may be having 1 or 2 meals a week where I involve them.
They are pretty good. I mean, they taste pretty good.
Well, that's the thing. I think if you're transitioning into a plant-based lifestyle, into a vegan dietary pattern, and I get a lot of crap for this. It's like, well, if you want your food to look and taste like meat, why wouldn't you just eat meat? It's because that's not the point, right? If all you've eaten your entire life is meat and dairy, you have to find substitutes to kind of like satiate you and kind of fill that gap until you find a way to like live on tofu and live on chickpeas and really pound lentils. Like it takes a long time because now I've gotten to a point where I don't expect things to taste like meat. You know what I mean? Like I don't need that texture. I don't need that flavor necessarily. At first, the first maybe year and a half, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not gonna pretend like at the time like if I had a black bean burger, I'm like this isn't a effing burger. Like this is just a sandwich with beans in it, right? So I would find the Beyond Meats. Now I'm at the point where like I don't care. And I'm not a jerk. I'm not a jerk. And I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this. I'm not the overbearing sort of jerk vegan where like I'm all involved in PETA and stuff like that. I'm not gonna. And if
so you're doing it for your health. Majority of it is for your health.
For my health and for the ocean, honestly. Like those are the two big factors for me. And if we're celebrating my father, for example, we celebrated his 66th birthday last week, and he decided to go to Fogo de Chao, right? Like. I don't know if y'all been to Fogo. It's all you can eat meat. Like you literally flip a card, green or red, and when it's green, they bring you. It's one server after another bringing you different cuts of meat. It's either chicken or it's
is it loin or lamb. Like they just cut it off for you. Is it one of those places?
It depends on the meat, right? Their sausage. I mean, I had a nibble. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna lose a lot of followers for that, and that's okay. Do I agree with how it's produced? No, but. Yeah. This is and I don't drink really either. And if we're celebrating an anniversary or a wedding or a party, I'm gonna have a glass of champagne and I'm gonna have a meal. I'm gonna share a meal with my father. But predominantly, I just annihilated the salad bar because I mean, there's everything I needed was there anyway. But
that's what my old coach used to say. I just did an interview with him not that long ago on here, and he used to say like. Make love to the vegetable tray when you're at your parties because that's where you need 100%. To stand around. Yeah. So you took a bite of meat and whatever. And like you said, you're going to lose followers, but those are only followers that are following you because you're vegan. And that's part of their culture, almost of what they want to do. You started out, and I just want to make sure everybody understands this, that you started out for health reasons. And there are a lot of health benefits. Obviously, I went plant-based for about 4 weeks. I did raw food vegan after I got done competing. And it was harder than any bodybuilding competition diet I'd ever done. And I competed for 10 years and I always knew nobody could out diet me because I was that meticulous. And so I did raw food vegan and it was a lot of eating salads and nuts and seeds, but it was very, very hard. And I did it. Lost too much weight and I lost a lot of muscle and I was so mad at myself because I did because there was raw food vegan is really hard to get a lot of protein.
I know people who are fruitarian. I don't know if you know what fruitarian is.
I
So
do.
it's literally they only eat, they feel like even like eating plants that are alive is still murder. I can't get behind that. So they only eat foods that fall off of plants. So
Yeah.
nuts and legitimate fruits. And I can't imagine that that is a great. I mean, and
Well,
some of them
I
look
think
healthier than.
And I think there's something to be said too. Like, I love that you said you'll take a bite of meat or you'll have a meal with your family, because that's even something I teach my patients in the clinic and even my own online nutrition clients is if they're following some sort of new type of eating and they're changing their lifestyle and it involves, a certain way for even a small time, whether they're trying to lose weight or get healthier or whatnot. I teach them and try to remind them that there's so much value in having that meal with your
Yeah.
family. It's way less stressful just to have the meal than stress yourself out about, oh, I can't have grandma's pie or I can't eat this turkey because I have to be plant-based. So it's good that you're doing that and promoting that because it almost we can get into, especially former bodybuilders and with all these other issues, we can get into these, we got to put ourselves in a camp, put ourselves in a camp. And I don't feel like you're doing that so much by allowing yourself some of that. And that's sort of the lesson. I'm glad you said that because that's another part of what I wanted to talk about too, is so you really do have sort of that balance in your life. And that's kind of what you're trying to accomplish.
I'm already on a really restricted diet. I
Mhm.
really am. And what I'll do, especially for Thanksgiving is in 2 days, right? Am
Mhm.
I going to pound ham and turkey? Definitely not. But those sides, listen, tear
Yeah.
them up. What I'll do, I mean, with the sort of meal planning I'm doing right now, what I'll do is I'll just tell my coach, like, hey, it's Thanksgiving, I'm with my family. And he'll be like, hey, you need to reload today anyway. And just rock with it like that. So I just think there's something to be said about still keeping your social circles. Because, at first, for sure, when I was really like gung-ho, I have got to lose this weight. I have
Mhm.
got to remove myself from situations that are going to put me, in places I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I didn't lose friends. I definitely didn't lose friends, but definitely I stopped getting invited to stuff. And I think, part of the human condition is that we are social creatures.
Mhm.
I want to be around people I love. I want to be around, I want to be able to do things with folks, but legitimately anywhere you go as a vegan or someone that's on a plant-based, nutritional pattern, fries and salads are available to you
Yeah. Yeah.
everywhere. And I mean, who doesn't love both, right?
Right. Yeah.
But now I'm just to a point like where my protein needs have exceeded what they were before. I'm not, doing HIIT workouts every day. I'm not running every day. I'm not swimming every day. Now it's really just about putting on mass and putting on protein. So if there is a situation like my father's birthday in which, I can get that extra protein, in which I can, actually celebrate with, the man that raised
Mhm.
me.
And
It's
there's
important.
that whole so again, like in that and what I teach even my own clients, I was just drawing as I was writing 4 pillars of health, and one of them is community, and that community support is huge.
Every
Because even as a bodybuilder, when we were, and I started in my teens, and it becomes very self-isolating, and you learn this sort of almost just this isolation. So to keep that community, and to like you said, kind of let go, it's a huge thing for your overall health and well-being. So I'm glad you said
50%.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So this is about 45 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up because we could talk forever. And you guys, if you guys are kind of watching this, I'm going to hopefully post this up in the next couple of days. So if you're watching this in our time sensitive zone, before the Olympia this year in 2022, he will be in Vegas. He's going to be doing a small little interview with Monica Brandt, and then he's going to be out there kind of enjoying the Olympia. Hopefully we can get another podcast in person, maybe with a couple bodybuilders, 1 or 2, and you
Yeah.
guys can have a round table like we talked about and discuss the pros and cons of the lifestyle. And because you are not afraid to talk about it and have discussions with people that don't think like you, and you're not being attacked or attacking them. And that's what I love about these adult conversations around health, is that we can all be friends and all just kind of talk about it and let people make their own educated decisions around.
We're grown ups. Let's have grown up discussions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
That's
love
it.
it. And it's things that need to be talked about. And I think that's where you and I connected immediately. Through the gram was to bring some of this stuff out and talk about things that really people think that they shouldn't talk about. Because like, why not? Why not just talk about it?
I do want to talk about, if we do this again, I'm hoping we do. I do kind of want to talk about the, inside the NPC and inside the IFBB, just to kind of know what the politics are like and know what it's like, person to person. I'm really curious to know.
Yeah, and that's something I just did with my girlfriend Terry, who was kind of in, she was
I'm
IFBB, and yeah, and that's kind of a big deal right now too. So yeah, we can definitely have some more and talk about that because it's one of my favorite things to talk about.
rock and roll. Let's do it.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. You guys don't forget to follow him on Instagram. And you don't have your YouTube up yet.
Nope. I have. I just actually, while we're on the phone, one of the text messages I got was my first vlog. He's just sending it to me for approval, so I'm gonna check it out, watch it, and then I should be posting tomorrow, or either tomorrow or Thanksgiving.
Okay. Well, we will look for that, and once that's on there, I'll just post it in the link on here. So,
Awesome.
anything you want to say before we check out?
Take care of yourself. I think it's the most important thing I could say to everyone, whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, what have you. Just do everything you possibly can to become self-aware and correct the things in your life that aren't worth your time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I'm excited to continue to follow your story.
Awesome. Thank
All
you,
right.
Pam.
Yep.
Bye.